Good morning, interweb. Welcome back to the Artifexian podcast. In this month's episode, we debrief January's Christmas quiz, find the one non-musician Sungazer fan, talk world building as therapy, and metaphors for power structures. In Cairn, the scoundrel Yar is back. Oh dear. Abhéskii gets some pronouns, and we talk TAM. All that, plus lots more, in this month's episode. Episode 91, 901.
901.
Let's start with some follow-up, as is customary, as we've been doing for the past 20 years. So a few small bits of items here, Bill, I'd like to plough through. Number one, I want to give the sort of the long-standing, ever-present Discord plug. We have a Discord now since a couple of episodes. Links in the show notes. Head on over there if you'd like to talk all things Artifexian, podcast, videos, that sort of jazz. Just want to stick it in there just to keep that in people's minds. That's the first point. Second point of housekeeping. We have a P.O. box, right? You know, the Bank of Artifexia where people send us mail. It is with a heavy heart that I'm going to declare the P.O. box no more. We are shutting down the P.O. box. And this is mainly because price hikes on the P.O. box, and the P.O. box has recently changed addresses. So I'd have to go back and edit all the things to get to have it point in the right place. And I fear people will send a bunch of mail that'll never show up to me because it'll go to the old P.O. box. It's just chaos. And also this P.O. box is in the UK for reasons that I don't remember why it was this way. This is how I was advised to do by the post office people. But because the UK isn't in the EU anymore, there's a customs charge on the thing, and it's all a bit much. And then also there's associated scam emails constantly where it's like, hey, you need to pay custom charges on your PO box. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing I do regularly. And then I look at the email address. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the legitimate one. That's a scam. So I'd rather not run the potential of being scammed into things. So P.O. Box is no more. I will do my best to eradicate the address from everywhere. I almost certainly can't. So I just want to say in advance to anyone who sends letters and they never arrive, I'm really sorry about that. If you do send a letter and if that letter gets bounced back to you, as in couldn't send, and you had to pay for the mailing of said letter, if you want to email us like a picture of your receipt, proof that you did mail the thing and got it bounced back, I'll happily refund you the cost of the postage, because it's essentially my fault at this stage for not being able to eradicate every place on the internet where said address exists. So yeah, that's the old PSA there, Bill.
Cool. So has it already been closed, the PO box?
No, not yet. It will be closed. When people are listening to this, it will be closed.
Okay, but by the time anyone hears this, it'll be done. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Okay. Okay, so those are the first 2 points of follow-up, or I guess housekeeping. First real point of follow-up is I want to give a shout-out. Well, first of all, I want to give a shout-out to everyone who involved themselves in the Christmas quiz. The Christmas quiz that came out on the first week of January, as is customary timekeeping around
always
here.
Christmas somewhere.
That is not true, but that's fine.
Time zones.
Wait, the time zones don't make it that Christmas shifts by 2 weeks.
I don't know. I think you have to check your figures on that, dude.
Citation needed, eh? But yeah, shout out to everyone who took part. The Petersons, Jesse and David, Bib. Also, just sorry, I'm halfway through listing out everyone. Big shout out to you, Bill. I think you did an absolutely wonderful job with the emceeing.
Good. Thank you.
Much less chaotic than when I do it, because I'm constantly forgetting whose turn it is and what round we're on and what points have been assigned. You did it just really flawlessly, so props on that. It was really great.
Master of all I to survey.
Exactly. Who else took part in the quiz? I'm forgetting now.
Madeline.
Madeline took part in the quiz. Is that everyone?
I forget who you've listed already.
The Jesse, David, Madeline, Bibb, myself. You were there. George from Con Langery.
There we go.
I was
looking at the list. I was looking at the list of topics. I'm trying to remember who had done which, but that took me so long that I would have been faster just trying to remember the names.
I'm so sorry I forgot about George. And also George's round was awesome.
That was a great round.
Yeah, the translated Disney tunes was just so awesome. I can't believe I forgot about George. George, I'm so sorry. Links in the show notes for everyone to go check out Con Langery. It's great. So anyhow, on this quiz, as usually happens, listeners, they take part in the quiz, and I enjoy trying to find who won the quiz on the listeners' part. Now, feedback is dispersed over 3 platforms like email, Reddit, and Discord, so it's kind of hard to make sure I've caught everyone, but I think
the YouTube comments themselves.
And the YouTube, correct, and the YouTube comments. But I think u/Rec Jensen is the winner of this, having scored 11 out of 18, so 61.11% of the vote. And that is a really high score. That's for previous years also, I think maybe possibly one of the highest. It's a very, very high score. So congratulations, u/Rex Jensen. There is no prize other than our admiration.
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights, exactly. So that was the quiz. I'll leave a link to that quiz in the show notes if people haven't seen it yet and they want to check it out. I think it was super fun. I really enjoyed it. So the next point of follow-up, just a quick shout out. The last episode, the last like pre-Christmas quiz episode, you had talked about going to a Sungazer gig. Mm-hmm. This is Adam Neely's band. Links in the show notes to Adam Neely. Wonderful ex-YouTuber, I suppose. He's kind of in semi-retirement when it comes to YouTube. But just makes wonderful music theory, or has made wonderful music theory videos. Check him out. His band is Sungazer. And I was saying that, I think I said something to the effect of, no one who isn't a musician goes to these gigs because it's like insanely deep, nerdy music. This isn't your standard, like, easy to listen to pop fare sort of thing. And as is so often the case on this podcast, I was wrong. So A Brutalist Building, u/A Brutalist Building writes, non-musician Sungazer fan checking in. They're great live. I can't follow it. Some, if not most of the time, but I love their sound. So we do have non-musician people liking and supporting bands like Sungazer live. So I rescind what I talked about in the previous show. I'm wrong.
Excellent taste, A Brutalist Building.
It is. It's really good music. It really is.
Good name.
Do you know what? Tangents with Edgar. Brutalist Buildings have a certain sort of like barbaric charm. People hate them, I think. But like there's something like, Soviet bloc concrete everywhere that just has a certain sort of like feel to them that I quite enjoy. I
think the climate of these islands of ours isn't conducive to them, and they have to be maintained a certain way in damp environments.
That's fair.
I think they can be absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I don't think. No, okay. For me, no. For me, I don't think it's beauty, but it's sort of like it's like a ugly duckling type thing. Like there's interest.
Yeah, the ugly duckling was beautiful in the end.
Well, before the end. As in, this doesn't become beautiful, Bill. But there's a sort of interest in. There's sort of like I enjoy looking at these brutalist buildings and kind of thinking to myself like, why on earth did we think it would be a good idea to put this up here? And like looking at them dominate over other buildings in a sort of like nothing quite fits right here. There's just an intrigue with them. I don't think they're beautiful, but I think they're intriguing. I think is probably the way I would frame it. But anyhow, yeah, u/A Brutalist Building, Sungazer fan, non-musician. So shout out. Penultimate point of follow-up here is on we got an email from a chap called Kyle Orr on Therapeutic Worldbuilding. or not world building even. I'm not going to go through the exact details in the email because some of it's quite personal, but just to give a gist here, Kyle writes, I don't usually write into things. In fact, I am more often a passive participant, preferring to listen and read to what others have said, though I do try to say hi if I drop into a stream. But I wanted to write in and say thank you for your podcast, the Artifexian YouTube channel, and the Artifexian community that you have built. Kyle then goes on to outline a sort of like a pretty traumatic event in their lives, which I won't mention out here, and then writes, shortly after I got back into conlanging and world building, at least in part as a way to regain some control in my life, even if only in a fictional world. In my renewed world building fervor, I discovered this podcast and all things Artifexian and the community that goes along with it. And cheesy as it may sound, it helped me through some a very tough several months, both in allowing me an outlet to let go of the real world for a while and just laughing along with the crazy antics that world builders seem to get up to. Of course, even now the times are good, I still enjoy world building listening to the podcast, and maybe someday my now 10-month-old will join me in making a world together. Given my personal history with world building, especially in recent years, I'm curious if you have thoughts on the therapeutic aspects of world building. I would think that more people than just myself have found world building to be a way to regain some control when life hits you hard. Whether or not you have any specific thoughts or not, I just want to thank you both for the good times and the community you have built. Sincerely, Kyle. So the first thing is, Kyle, I'm sorry to hear about that dark period in your life. I'm really glad that everything came out okay in the end. But I think the point, I don't know what you were going to have to say about this, Bill, but I think the point on world building as therapy is, I'm going to say, maybe the most common avenue into this, at least for me, because I've told the story on the podcast before, but that was years ago and new listeners, so it's worth reiterating. Artifexian was a response to a pretty rough breakup for me, and I just needed things to do. Like, I find often if there's some sort of sadness or a traumatic event, the worst thing for me is to not be active, because then your mind just dwells on said event. So this thing happened to me, and then I was like, I need to just redirect my efforts into something. So that was in early 2015, and I just started. I was like, I'll just make a YouTube channel and put up some world building and see what happens with that. So in many ways, Artifexian was my therapeutic world building, and I have to assume that this is the case for others. Thoughts, Bill?
I mean, doing creative stuff is good for you. It's good for the brain, where we have a creative urge, and people do art therapy and music therapy and things, and people, outside the context of even therapy specifically, people find relief and joy in channeling themselves into creative pursuits. I don't see any reason world building should be different. Yeah, definitely.
Because it allows you just me time more than anything else. It's like, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to map for several hours. You just get your own space, which is good. And I don't know if it's still the case on the world building subreddit. The tagline used to be something to the effect of the greatest form of escapism. And I think that is true. It's kind of like, if you were, displeased with the world, you get a chance to, like Kyle says here, control something and be like, I'm going to make a world that I would like to inhabit, and things like that. Or I want to make a world that kind of takes all the negatives that I see in the actual world and like heightens them to, prove how bad the thing is or whatever, holding a mirror up and all that sort of jazz. So yeah, I think the therapeutic, for me, the therapeutic aspect was extremely strong in Artifexian in the world building. Once again, Kyle, great to hear that everything is going well and you got out of that spot.
And thanks for the email. I really was glad to read it.
Yeah, and like just selfishly, I guess it's really nice to hear that people like what we do. I know that's not the point of the email, but it's very nice when people are kind of like, love what you do, podcast channel, all that sort of jazz. Because everyone knows this, but like part of being a content creator is having to deal with constant negativity, even if that negativity is positive, right? Like, even if it's just people being like, I noticed a mistake, heads up, here's something that you might consider changing. That's fine. In everyday life, you might, hear that from your partner, say like, oh, you messed up on this, and then that's okay. But a difference in quantity is a difference in quality, so to speak. So when you spend all day like having several emails, tons of comments, all being like, something is wrong, you are wrong, this is wrong, it can be quite demoralizing. So it's often very, very nice to open up emails and just be like, hey, all good, man, I like this. You're like, oh, there is one at least. So it's good for your mental health to hear that every so often. Okay, that was Kyle. Bill, do you wanna bring up something that Sven, an Oslo dentist, brought up in the Reddit?
So this was occasioned by me misusing a simile in the last episode, or in a recent episode, where I said central echelon instead of upper echelon. And Sven, an Oslo dentist, wrote here on the Reddit, I know it was an accidental slip of the tongue, but I think the idea of central echelons versus upper echelons can be interesting in world building. I have a lot of experience with a group that's had major issues with abuse of power and fetishization of hierarchy through its history, which apologists have often tried to defend as saying it isn't a focus on hierarchy, it's a mandala principle, with the teacher at the center and authority, wisdom, or whatever radiating outwards. Regardless of the fact that this center-out versus top-down distinction is simply redrawing the same diagram of power dynamics in a funnel orientation, it just struck me that this kind of spatial imagery could be an interesting way to explore what a con culture thinks about power. It would still make sense to stick with the top-down imagery for the Abhéskii, given the verticality of both the spires and of airships, but a center-out image could be cool too, focusing on the spires as hubs with the cities radiating out from them. Yeah, I love stuff like this, like just taking an assumption about how we in the real world consider like how language shapes our understanding of things, and how the metaphors we use, and how that is reflected in our environments, and trying a new mode of thought with that. That's something I really enjoy in world building, like not just changing the specifics of a system, but actually a system being constructed radically differently. So that's very much my jam. Thank you, Sven.
Sven goes on lower in the comment thread to talk about the low man on the totem pole, which I'm assuming everyone here knows about, but just in case, it's an interesting example of what Sven is talking about, where in Northwest North America, there was like these totem poles, and they had figures carved on them or into them or whatever, and the perspective of a European goes, well, surely whoever is carved higher on the totem pole is of more importance, because being at the top or whatever. But apparently the way it worked is that there wasn't really a hierarchy, but if you were to assign a hierarchy, the figure at the bottom of the totem pole was the more important one, because they were like holding everything else up. They were foundational, structural, that sort of thing. And that's a sort of like bottom down sort of thing going on, which I think is also kind of interesting. So yeah, shout out Sven and Oslo dentist for that. We've almost certainly butchered that pronunciation once again. They'd also left the thing here to say, I seem to recall you being uncertain about how to pronounce my username. So I still am, and I'm sure we've completely butchered it. Oh, wait, get some IPA. Hold on.
It's given here, Sven.
No, not Svenge. It's Svenge.
Svenge.
No, Svenge. Oh, wait, no. Just pronounce it as Svenge. Oh, right. By comparison with Svenge and Henge. Though I suppose as fake Norwegian, something like Svenge might be more proper. Okay, Svenge. Yeah, shout out Svenge. Thank you for that. Follow-up drawing to a close?
Yes, done.
Yes. All right, let's do some world building.
I have written a document from the Tamari setting from eCairn. For anyone who's a new listener or not familiar with the setting, this is an ongoing setting that I write in, where I'm exploring a kind of a diegetic world building. Everything I present is a written document from within this setting. And the culture that I'm writing about is in the midst of a sort of civilization-wide labor dispute, uprising, low-level uprising.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode, we're hearing about what's happened as the aftermath of the last couple of episodes.
The fact that you pronounce what with a voiceless W there is, I'll never not be amazed by that and jealous.
Why would you be jealous? You can do it as well.
But it's not natural though. I don't go what, when, why. It's so good. I love it so much. Anyhow.
There's a H in the word.
Yeah.
Contract Captain Teyarthlin. At your earliest opportunity, return to these lands. Proceed to my estates near Mirsphere with the greatest haste, and I shall join you there to discuss our work. You may not have heard the most recent news from the Eastern Quarters. Following a failed attempt to prevent the Valdini Company from succumbing to the pressures of agitation, an insurrection has seized control of an industrial district of Otvev. The blame for this has been placed solely on the Tamar Company. Though traitors within our ranks contributed to our mission's failure, Valdini cowardice allowed the cancer of agitation to grow and fester. In the aftermath of this debacle, Otvev and Vilv have cancelled their municipal contracts with us. Our routes to the east have been dogged by attacks, seemingly from free traders. I suspect the Valdini and Eltini may be the originators of these aggressions, either through employing proxies or disguising their own vessels. As well as these cowardly acts unbecoming of civilized trade, many believe the Valdini and Eltini commissions are close to declaring outright open war upon the company, with the backing of Vilv, Otvev, and many of the smaller companies. Public opinion among the groundsfolk has turned against us in these cities, though our support in Mirsphere and Zhikav remains steadier. These events have caused significant disruptions to our Transolien and Hoitani offices. As well as being unable to supply our depots adequately, investors are beginning to doubt the security of the enterprises carried out in those regions, and their wavering confidence compounds our difficulties in addressing the material causes of their concerns. Upon your arrival at my estate, I request that you begin to outfit the Fasathi with whatever you may require for an extended cruise in the Transolien region. Supplies have been procured, and my staff have been instructed to assist you to their greatest extent. I have arranged a line of credit to purchase any further necessary materials from the city. Latest intelligence and reports will be made available to you. Begin planning your operations. If I am not present, I will join you at my earliest convenience to furnish you with further details and instructions. Our investment in you was not insignificant, and we expect it will continue to deliver. Yours, Alet, Finance Board Eastern Office Representative. Letter to Yar Teyartlen, Contract Captain of the Fasathi.
Okay. I think you're going to need to remind me about some stuff that's gone on. So do you want to give a quick update on what Yar Teyartlen, everyone's favourite, has been doing in the lead up to this letter?
Yar Teyartlen has been off to the west of the region, doing war crimes, taking out towns and populations associated with trade of kind of rival civilizations. Anyone that is like trading with the Arthani river traders, He's been trying to disrupt their operations, and has been attacking the Arthani directly, which they're not supposed to do. It's kind of an act of war. And he has been doing that as a sort of one step removed, kind of plausibly deniable asset of the Tamar Trading Company. So they want him to be doing this, but they want to be able to say that, oh, we never asked him to. They want to keep their hands sort of clean of him.
So he's gone freelancer in a way.
He is doing their bidding, but in a way that they can pretend that he isn't. That if things go bad for them, they can deny any affiliation.
It's the gigging economy of war crimes.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. He's a sort of a somewhere between an Uber driver and a privateer.
Sure.
And Alet is one of his benefactors. So he has like a group of benefactors that are equipping him and enabling him to do these things. After his previous career disgrace, they saw him as a potential asset and have recruited him to go and cause havoc.
And so that kind of leads us up to where we are now. So Alet is like, our investment in you is not insignificant. We expect it will continue to deliver. So what is he being asked specifically to deliver on here? He's been called into Mirsphere. Mm-hmm. What is he to be doing? Because that's kind of remained a bit elusive in this letter.
So he's Alet isn't spelling it out here, but he wants Yartlen to go to the east, to the Transolien region, which is kind of to the east of the main Abhéskii core, and disrupt the trade practices of their rival companies. Find out like where the ships that are attacking their ships are, and try and prevent that. Go on the counteroffensive. Possibly do other stuff like maybe supply material to agitationists that are working against the rival companies, to disrupt their operations that way as well.
Mm-hmm. And I can't remember. I'm so sorry. It's been so long. I think the last episode was, judging by the Reddit comments, 4 months ago, not including like the Christmas episode.
Yeah,
so all of this would
have been November, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. All of this is not in RAM at the moment. Mm-hmm. Why are the other companies fighting with the Tamari? You mentioned here the Valdini and the Eltini, who, with the backing of Vilv and Otfev and many smaller companies, are basically declaring outright war upon the Tamari. I thought, why is there intercompany fighting here? I thought the whole thing was that they were fighting groundsfolk. No?
Not that they were fighting groundsfolk. They were fighting the agitationist movement, the labor movement. But that's not the same thing as groundsfolk. There are reactionary groundsfolk as well.
Sure, but if surely the Valdini and the Elcini are fighting a common enemy here, and that common enemy is not the Tamar company itself.
So what happened in the last event that I wrote about was there was a Valdini operation that was going to try and come to some understanding and meet some of the demands of striking workers. And the Tamar company attempted to intervene to prevent that happening. And it went wrong. And then mutineers within the Tamar company switched sides and joined the strikers. And as a result, there has been an uprising in the city of Otvev. And like there was in Lansk previously, like there's been a kind of a Paris commune situation where part of the city has been taken over by the strikers, and the Tamar company are being blamed for it. So what's happening now is, first of all, the Vandini and Eltini are objecting to the Tamar company interfering in their affairs. They think that's an overreach of kind of the normal practice of business. And also they're trying to shift the blame or shift the public perception of the villain in the society more towards the Tamari. They think that if they can put more things towards the Tamari, engage in conflict with the Tamari, then the agitationists will be more sympathetic to them in that conflict, and they can kind of come to some accommodation with the labor movement in the face of this other enemy, who are more hostile to even more hostile to the labor movement.
Man, are we setting up like a Standard Oil sort of thing here, or an Amazon, if you will, where there were, or currently there is, a whole bunch of these private companies, the Valdini, the Elcini, the Tamari, etc. And now they are beginning to fight amongst one another. Are we going to see a thing where slowly but surely every company gets eradicated, or swallowed up, or destroyed, and at the end of it all, we're left with the one company that controls everything, the Amazon of eCairn? Is that what's going? Because that could be that's very depressing. Because at least now, right? At least now there is no monopoly on being bad here. Like, there are many options for being bad. And then if this all just collapses, we'll just have the one hyper mega evil Inc., which is very, very depressing. Mm-hmm. Is that where your mind's going at all, or has gone?
Not really. I haven't thought that many steps ahead. But
okay,
I figured like the tension has been rising and rising and rising, and the coalition of the companies, not like a formal coalition, but them being on the one side of the conflict, can't stay stable when the Tamari company has been trying to interfere in what the other companies were doing. And, it may come to them seeing that the other company seeing that they can solve the problem of the labor movement to some degree by taking on the company that's even more hostile to the labor movement.
Yeah. As in, like, we're the good guys. Look, we took out the bad guy, but like we're not perfect. Conditions won't be amazing under us, but at least it's better than the other Tamari boils.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. That's a very interesting dynamic. So we're in a position where we have a multi-layered conflict here. We have it's like everyone's angry at big tech, but also big tech is fighting amongst itself for supremacy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know in this tech analogy what the Earthani are. Mom and pop stores. I have no idea. But that's interesting. Yeah. Can you remind me about the Fasati? I can't remember the Fasati is Yarte Yarden's ship. That was involved in some stuff before, wasn't it? I seem to have vague memories of there being some sort of secret hidden item, like some sort of MacGuffin was squirreled away on a ship.
That was.
Am I misremembering?
That was way before in his career. That was much earlier in his career.
We never did find out what the MacGuffin was, did we?
No. My mind brought me in a different direction.
This is like, it's like what's called J.J. Abrams mystery boxes. We'll just plant all these things and just never talk about them. You're like, oh, God damn it, damn you, Abrams.
That's about the most offensive thing you could say to me.
Well, I'm sorry, but also I'm watching. Actually, I would like to pick apart that position, but I'm watching Lost at the moment, which is How are you? Oh my God, which is Abrams written. Abrams is involved.
Yeah, mostly produced, I think.
Mostly produced. And I think, if I recall my TV history correctly, I believe the idea of mystery boxes and stuff came from Lost, I think, because it's very much like, here's a thing that we just won't address ever / for many seasons or whatever, and they constantly dump these mystery boxes on you. I'm loving it. I think this mystery box stuff is great. It's like, it's such a tease, and it just keeps me wanting to watch more and more. I think it's just a really good thing. Why do you think the Abrams mystery box is the greatest insult I could ever throw
No,
at you?
not the mystery box thing. Just comparing me to J.J. Abrams, I don't particularly like him. I think he's done a lot of very, very poor stuff. Now he could be Damon Lindelof, which would be a lot worse. But
Who's Dame Lindelof?
Damon Lindelof.
Dame?
Or Damon Lindoff. Damon, yeah.
Who's this?
Lindelof.
What?
He's the other creator of Lost, and he also wrote the worst film ever.
What is the worst film ever?
Prometheus.
Prometheus. Oh yeah, that was not a good film. That was not. I believe.
Yeah.
Did I watch that with you? I might have watched.
You watched it when we lived together, and I refused to watch it because I'd already seen it, and it's the worst film I've ever seen, so I didn't watch it again.
Yeah. And then afterwards, I remember you giving me a big talking to about why it's so bad. There was the axe. The axe was a huge problem for you. There was many.
Yeah, that was really stupid.
There's many things you're unhappy with. Oh, and then there was the thing about like they were going to get crushed. Someone was going to get crushed by a giant big wheelie type thing, and you kept ranting about how they could just dive to the left or right, and then they're totally fine. They would have been totally fine, but they kept running in the path of the falling wheel thing. That was fun too to listen to. We should, do you know what we should do? Sorry, we'll get back into EK in a second.
No, absolutely.
No, hear me out. No, listen. I don't think you understand. No, I don't think you understand just how entertaining. Like, we could do like a live watch through. We could, maybe we could meet in Meet Space, watch the video and just do the movie and just have the mics going and just record your reaction to us watching it together. I think I understand that you don't want to do this because it will hurt your soul, but I need you to just think of the comedic value for everyone else involved, right? Think not of yourself, Bill, but of the community at large.
You're going to have to edit out so much swearing on my part if we do that.
Oh, maybe, you know what we could do? We could put it as like a patron special. Oh, like a hidden thing, so you could swear to your heart's content. Oh, man, I was joking at the start. I've gone beyond joking. This is something I seriously want to entertain. Watching terrible films with Bill.
What's the word for like where you've got where you do that, like you got the alternative commentary track, or like it's Riff Tracks did it, and I think there's a word for that kind of thing.
I don't know it.
Okay,
but that would be great because you were impassioned about Prometheus. Anywho,
yeah, because it sucks.
I mean, it was a bad movie, but then like I don't get exercised about it too much. Like I think I would get exercised about it if it was like offensive, and in the sense of like it was racist, like that sort of thing. I would get exercised about that. I don't get exercised about it being stupid, like, because if it's stupid, I just kind of watch it and go, well, that was incredibly dumb, and move on, or really enjoy a thing for it being so bad. Like The Room, for example. It's so bad that it's an enjoyable experience. So it's either I don't care or it wraps around and I'm having a great time. But I don't get exercise in the way you do about axes on spaceships, to be honest with you. Anywho, so you went full, what's your man's name? Lindelof? Damon?
Oh, I didn't.
So you went full Damon on us there with the Lost style MacGuffin on the ship that we just never heard about ever again. I joke. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't break up with me, Bill.
At this point, you edit in like a dial tone as though I've hung up.
Yeah. So the Fasati was not involved in that, but there was something about the Fasati. There was a narrative about the Fasati. Do you want to remind me about this and remind the listeners?
So that was the war crimes. Let me find the writing here. So Yar, as I said, was like attacking both places where the Earthani would trade hubs for their exchange of goods with other people, and actually attacked an Arthani barge, which is a big no-no. That it's like long-standing kind of custom that they don't. The Arthani vessels are considered sovereign.
Sovereign vessels. Yeah.
The barges are considered sovereign. That's their property, and any incursion upon that is a de facto act of war. So that's something that the other cultures in the Abhéskii don't do, and Yar went rogue and did it and figured out a way to get away with it, just by killing all the bystanders and hiding the evidence.
Go back.
So that's what the Fasathi was up to before.
Interesting.
Or that's what we have heard about it being up to.
Okay. That's about everything. The main thing I wanted to critique was just the intra-company fighting that's going on. What have I missed?
I think that's kind of it. Alet describes false flag attacks by the other companies as being cowardly acts unbecoming of civilized trade, despite getting Yar to do war crimes.
Nice. Cognitive dissonance. Love it.
It is cognitive dissonance, but also he's kind of has a distinction there between doing that to Abhéskii,
right,
is civilized, is unbecoming of civilized trade, whereas doing it to non-Abhéskii, people further away from the kind of what you call like the imperial core, is fine.
The central echelons. Callback.
Can't say a goddamn thing on this.
yeah, I know, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it is somewhat hypocrisy, but it's consistent in his own mind. If you
sure, yeah. I mean, totally. Like, I can see how he rationalizes that away. So yeah, for sure. If you don't treat the non-Abhéskii as people, then your modus operandi changes with respect to them.
Yeah, they're less deserving of the benefits and assumptions of civilization, of civilized behavior being extended to them.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Or at least correct in their mind. Not that I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of it. So that's the fallout of their ill-fated attempt to seize the forge or the foundry in Otvev. It has gone badly for them.
And Yar goes east to cause more havoc. Not on behest of the companies. Air quotes, not.
Wink.
Wink. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. All right, cool. Let's, if that's everything, we can transition into some conning. Yeah?
Let's do it.
Okay, Abhéskii. I finally have some work done on Abhéskii for you, Bill. It's only taken about 5 months.
About time.
So last time I quizzed you about pronouns, and I have completed said pronouns chart. So if you and the listeners want to pop over to the reference doc, links in the show notes, or the pronoun chart's going to be on screen if you're watching the YouTube video. Hi, chat. This is the completed pronoun chart. Errors I haven't seen or spotted notwithstanding, this is kind of it. There's not a whole lot to discuss. I just want to bring up a funny little thing in that a lot of English, unfortunately, maybe made its way into this pronoun chart. I did not intend this to happen, but it happened. So if you, for example, if you go to the first person plural exclusive pronoun, so that is we, not you, the addressee, you'll see that pronoun is ye, as is the second person singular accusative pronoun, ye.
Well, is that first person in the nominative, you mean? For the first person exclusive?
No, sorry. First person plural exclusive in the genitive is ye.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then we have, same thing again, first person plural exclusive in the instrumental. That's your. If you don't roll your oars, like I can't really roll my oars, that would in fact just be your. And then second person plural instrumental as well is our, except obviously with the rolled R. Now, this isn't, I think this is funny, but I don't think it's actually a problem because like these forms are not lining up with how they, align in English.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So it's just a thing. When you do the naturalistic thing, sometimes you can't really control the exact output, and this is what I got. So yeah. And one last thing, just eagle-eyed viewers or listeners or followers of the doc rather will note that Bill's third person animate plural pronouns skoo, ski, skong, skooge, scored, scath, and sky, they're technically wrong in the sense of those consonant clusters that sk should not be there. They should really be seku, seki, sekong, sekuj, sekur, sekath, sekai. The should be stressed and therefore shouldn't really be a candidate for elimination to create consonant clusters. I'm literally, if it's okay with you, Bill, I'm literally just kind of hand waving this away because I kind of like compact pronouns and I like the sound of skoo, ski, sky, scath. So please don't dash my hopes and dreams here, pal.
So you can break linguistic rules and hand wave it when it's something you like, but when it's something I like, the rules are different.
Now you're getting it, Bill.
Interesting. No, that's totally fine. I kind of agree, to be honest. Yeah.
Cool. And we can invoke stuff like, because pronouns are used so often, we could say that like stress shift occurs here in a way that it doesn't occur elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's fine. It'll be grand.
Yeah, totally fine.
Email me, listeners, if you have a extreme hatred of this. So those are the pronouns, right? Anything to add? Any observations? Anything you want to bring up before we move on?
So there are some places where cells have merged. For example, in a comitative case, the singular and plural pronouns, second person singular and plural, are the same. And in the Abhéskii case, is that some kind of like semantic thing about those meanings that they can't be split, or is that just arisen out of sound changes? Or
firmly the latter there. It's just that's a product of how they arose. Okay. It's like the you in English. You singular, you plural. It's yous all the way down, Bill. Similar things occurring here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. And I suppose worth bringing up or reiterating that the va, this is the third person inanimate singular or plural. It is just all the same for the nominative, genitive, and accusative. That is kind of both a product of sound changes and the fact that the inanimate can't take any sort of plural marking. So just because of those constraints, it just shows up as being va the entire time, which is cool. Like it's, I like to see a little bit of homophony. I always pronounce that word wrong. Creeping into system. It's kind of crap if everything is unique. Homophoni.
Yeah, cool. Why can't inanimate take plural markers? Is that something specific to how we've done Abhéskii, or?
Yeah, we talked about before. It is a decision that we've made, but kind of in general, like stuff low down on the animacy hierarchy is less inclined to take plural marking.
Cool. Okay.
Think about how in English you can't say happinesses.
Okay.
You can't pluralize abstract. We're just saying that in this language you can't pluralize inanimates.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right. Shall we crack on to verbs?
Yeah.
I hate verbs so much,
Let's
Bill.
do it. Because do is a verb.
Oh,
they're doing
words. I like your enthusiasm. I'm glad one of us is enthusiastic about this because I hate verbs. They are the worst.
Mostly I was just enthusiastic about making that gag, to be honest.
Good. You share my loathing of verbs. Excellent.
No, I wouldn't go that far. I don't have a specific animus towards them, but I don't have a specific hate for them either. No, that's the same thing. I don't have a specific enthusiasm for them either.
The problem is that verbs, unlike nouns, can basically do all the things all the time. Like there's a very small set of things that nouns can do, and that's kind of, it's, for me anyway, it's very easy to control. But verbs are just you want to do something, a verb will probably do it for you, and it's just they're hard to deal with, and they're hard to talk about. So I'm kind of dreading this upcoming conversation. So listeners, go easy on me here, okay? I'm going to try and talk TAM in as short as possible a time, without getting into the weeds. Let's see how we fare. So, Bill, TAM. TAM stands for tense, aspect, and mood. Do you know what these things are, or should I give you a quick definition?
I feel like I kind of know what some of it is. No, hold on. I feel like I could say I know what tenses are, but I also think that it's the kind of thing where I'll explain it and you'll tell me I'm wrong.
That's fair. I mean, there's a big difference between a colloquial understanding of these things and a sort of linguistic understanding of these things. I vibe with that. It happens so often, Bill, to me as well, where I'm just like, oh, I think I understand the thing. And then you read about it and you're like, oh, no, I didn't understand that at all. But in any case, tense. Tense is locating an event in time. So in English, I walked versus I walk versus I will walk, right? Take a verb, that's an event, an action, and you locate it in time. Pretty straightforward, right?
Sure.
Aspect tells you something about the duration of the action, or gives the action internal kind of detail. So an example in English is the difference between I eat versus I am eating. Like they're both kind of present tense utterances, but like the I eat has a little bit of a habitual vibe to it. The I am eating is a progressive vibe. These are aspects. They take an event and they tell you about how temporally they unfold. Also things like, I started eating, I finished eating, I eat over and over again. All of these things kind of fall under the category of aspect. Does that make sense? Because that's a lot less concrete than tense.
I think so.
Okay.
Do things like pluperfects, is that aspect? Like I had gone.
No, that's like a relative tense.
Oh.
That's where you locate event in time, or you locate an instance in time, and you locate the event prior to that instance. So like I had walked. You're in your head. You're saying walking occurred, or a thing occurred, and then prior to it, you had done the walking. That's more of a tense thing.
Okay.
Yeah, just think for aspect. Just think of like in temporal stuff. If when you're thinking about an event or a verb, if in your mind's eye there's a sort of flow of time in imagining the action, then it's aspectual. If not, then it's tense. Or maybe think about the difference of like I ate versus I was eating. In your mind's eye, when you think of the utterance I ate, you're kind of picturing a completed sort of event with no unfolding to it. Whereas when you think I was eating, like when I say that, I think in my head, there's an image of me sitting down, actively lifting up the fork, the eating went on for a while, etc. Okay, so that's aspect, right? And then the final one is mood. Mood is squishy as well. This is basically a speaker's thoughts about the event that they are conveying.
Conditionals.
So conditionals, exactly. Like I could go, I would go, I can go, I may go, I must go. All of these things fall under mood. It's a super diverse category, so I can't get into all the examples. But that's the basic shtick of those three. Tense locates the event in time. Aspect gives it sort of a temporal aspect, for want of a better word, and then or want of a better word, and then mood tells you what the speaker thinks about the thing. So that's what we're going to talk today. Now, real fast, I'm going to talk about these with you in that order, tense, aspect, and mood, but I need you to be aware and the listeners to be aware that these things, this isn't a sort of 1-step, 2-step, 3-step process. Very often, tense, aspect, and mood just combine and merge, and the boundaries between them are very blurred. So don't think of these as being separate, distinct categories with no interaction. There's massive amounts of interaction, but for the sake of talking through this, we're going to need to take it kind of 1 step at a time.
Okay.
You ready to embark?
I guess. Now's as good a time as any.
Well, I mean, if you said no, we'd be kind of screwed for the rest of the show. So let's start with tense, right? Have you any thoughts on what you might like Abhéskii's tense system to be?
No.
Okay, good. Blank slate. Love it. So I'm going to shout out some systems, I suppose, and you give me a vibe for what you're feeling at the end, yeah?
Sure.
Okay, so tense system number 1, have no tenses. Be a tenseless language. So if English were a tenseless language, we would say stuff like I eat, and that could mean I ate in the past, I eat now, I will eat in the future. You either let context disambiguate that, or you use like adverbs like I ate yesterday, I eat today, I eat yesterday, I eat today, I eat tomorrow. So just do away with the idea of grammaticalized tense. That's system number 1.
Okay.
System number 2, do what English does and have a binary distinction. In English, we have distinction between past and non-past. So we have like I walked, notice the ed at the end of walk there. It's grammaticalized past tense. And then we have I walk and I will walk. Notice that nothing is tacking on to the walk in the present and future. We have a past versus non-past tense system in terms of stuff being grammaticalized.
Right.
Yeah, you can also have future versus non-future, but the key thing there is that you're carving up time into 2 slices.
Right.
Number 3 is incidentally a tertiary system. Carve up time into 3. The most common one here being past, present, future, a la French, a la Irish, all that sort of jazz. And then that's kind of basically it. But what you can do is you can then, once you kind of picked one of those systems, you can kind of go in and you can further subdivide. Like there's loads of languages that, for example, take the past tense and split it up into like remote past, recent past. Some languages split like the past tense up into like 4 distinctions. Like yesterday, before yesterday, long ago, even longer ago, all that crack. We can do the same with the future to a degree. So the basic schema here is no tense, binary tense, tertiary tense, and then within that, subdivisions if wanted. I'm sure there's more, but that's as much as I'm willing to go through here with you. So anything I said there pique your interest?
The remote past, I like that.
Okay, why? How come? What's the thing here?
Because of like what we know about Cairn in the setting, like it was settled by humans who came from elsewhere in like great antiquity. Like it's kind of like an ancestral memory nearly at this point. So I like the idea of like culturally they have a way of referring to the distant kind of mythological past because it refers to something so great and significant, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. I like that. I do like that. I suppose the only thing I would just point out there is that like you wouldn't be using a remote past tense, I don't think, exclusively for that. Like you would use other uses. Like, if you say you bought a house 20 years ago, you might stick that in the remote past. So it's not going to just be used for talking of legend. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Grand. So you like the remote past. Anything about the broad scale divisions of time? Like, are you invested in having a marked future, for example, like Irish, or have the future be handled by other means, like in English? Thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel it just kind of makes sense to have the three, but I know like English doesn't and German doesn't and stuff. So I'm not tied to having three.
Okay. Well, then I'm gonna. So I'll tell you what. I'll run away, and I will. I'll run into my Conlang hole, and I will maybe work on let's say a remote past, a recent past, and then like a non-past system, and maybe also demo a remote past, present, future system. So like a 3 split and a 2 split, but with the remote past in there. And I'll see what you think of it when we return in another 8 months.
Okay, yeah, I can live with that.
Okay, cool. Okay, aspect. Oh boy. Okay. I can't. We would really be here till the cows come home if we really were to talk about all the different aspects there are out there. So I think I'm just going to pitch this in the broadest possible terms to you. At the very top level, languages can have a distinction between perfective versus imperfective aspects, right? And this is quite simply perfective, kind of loosely speaking, refers to like a kind of completed, finished event, and an imperfective refers to an ongoing event. Okay?
Right. So can I think out loud about that for a second?
Absolutely.
So that's what we said before about the completed thing versus the snapshot of the process. The completed is imperfective.
Perfective.
Is perfective. Okay. And because, say, like in German, the Plusperfekt is ich habe, or ich bin gegangen, or ich habe gesagt. So it's a completed thing.
Yeah, perfective.
That's perfect in the same sense.
That's, well, again, we get into the squishiness of when is a thing a tense and when is a thing an aspect and where is the intersection between them. There's all that sort of squishiness.
Sure.
But if the event can be perceived of as kind of like a single instance in time, a closed off thing, a finished thing, an unanalyzable thing, then you're looking at most likely a perfective aspect.
Yeah, okay.
And then the imperfective is the opposite. It's not completed. It's ongoing. It has...
Ich dachte.
Ich dachte. I'll say sure for now, but I'm sure someone's going to point out and be like, Edgar, that is not how the aspects in German work at all. But there we go. It's basically a distinction between, in English, if you think I ate versus I was eating. I ate is perfective. I was eating is imperfective. So you can have those things, these two aspects are kind of the like top level, if your language is going to truck with aspects at all, which I think in our case it probably should, it's going to have perfective versus imperfective. Now, you can go further and you can take the imperfective aspect, because remember, that's describing the kind of course of time, and you can just basically split it up into like anything like habituals, like I habitually do things, progressives, the thing is progressing, terminatives, the thing is about to finish, inchoatives, the thing is about to start. You can go wild. So again, it's very hard to discuss these things. I think the question I would ask you is, would you look for a simple aspect system like perfective versus imperfective, leave it at that, or do you want me to go harder with these aspects, present you with a whole bunch of weird and wonderful aspects?
I feel like I don't understand it well enough to be comfortable asking for weird ones. Okay.
Because to be honest with you, like I would love to just do perfective, imperfective. That would make my life very easy. We already have, up to, assuming we don't change our minds, we have up to 4 distinctions in the tense system. Having that intersect with, say, you had 5-6 aspects, then the whole thing gets very messy. Not to say that can't happen, but it's more work for your boy over here. So I would love just a simple perfective, imperfective. And if something in the evolution of this thing comes up and I think to myself, do you know what? We really do need a habitual. I'll throw it in there, confer with you, see what you think, and so on. Yeah?
Okay.
So 3 or 4 distinctions in the past. We'll see. perfective, imperfective. Cool. I like where this is going. Final thing is mood. Again, mood. There's just so many moods. Like there's so many things because again, it's how a speaker feels about the utterance. So I mean, like there are infinitely many kind of feelings a speaker can have about the utterance. So it's really hard to talk about. So I guess I only want to narrow it down to two things I want to ask you about, and then I'm hoping you'll just let me have a little bit of free reign beyond that. And those two things are, you're aware of a thing called the Mo Canialach in Irish, I'm assuming.
Of course.
For people who don't know, right, the Mo Canialach is the conditional mood in Irish, and it's kind of a bit of a meme in Irish culture that the Mo Canialach scares people because we were taught Irish poorly in school, and I suspect we probably didn't meet the conditional until like deep into our Irish learning, where we already had an inbuilt hatred of the language, and then we're met with this new confounding paradigm breaking thing, and we're all like, not the dreaded Mo Canialach. So it's a whole thing.
Part of the thing as well is that it's just a phrase that gets used without the context of explanation. Like, oh no, you got it wrong because of Mo Canialach. And I was like, well, what's the Mo Canialach? Same with Tishal Ginnadach. Tishal Ginnadach. You have to think of the Tishal Ginnadach, but no one explains what the Tishal Ginnadach is.
Right, precisely.
Which is the genitive case for our non-Gaeilgeoir listeners.
Because I didn't know what the Mo Canialach was until I became a conlang YouTuber. I was like, oh, it's a conditional mood. Who would have thunk it? But in any case, you're aware of the Mo Canialach. You know therefore you know what a conditional mood is. Would you like me to implement something like a conditional mood in your language?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, do you have no strong feelings? Like, have you, did you look at Irish and go, God, I love that as a feature. I'd like to have that. You're like, whatever, I don't care.
I mean, we have it in English as well, right? Or is that one of the things where you just use an auxiliary verb to not have a kind of specifically grammaticized one?
Correct, yeah. It's not specifically grammaticalized, yeah.
Okay.
Like in Irish, the conditional will change the form of the verb. So if you're going to have a conditional in this language, we'll change the form of the verb. As I will always continue to reiterate, all languages express all things. So if you go no conditional, the language will still be able to express conditionality. It'll just use other words,
I mean, I don't have any strong feelings.
Okay.
If you fancy throwing one in, throw one in, but it's not super important.
Sure, because if we're going to, with your tense system, one of the things you can do is you can mash together past and future markers to create a conditional. So through the evolution, I could see myself I could see a conditional arising anyways, regardless. So I just wanted to get your feel with that. I want to see were you so scarred by your experience with the Mo Canialach that you just don't want to talk about or hear about conditional moods forevermore. But I'm glad that's not the case, because you'll probably end up getting one if we go with the tertiary system of tense. Final thing on my part with regards to tense and aspect. With regards to moods, is evidentials. These fall kind of under the broader category mood. I'd like to know if you would like me to work with these. Evidentials are basically where the speaker gives evidence of what they are saying, right? So, for example, if a speaker is saying, you like John, let's say they're saying that or Jane likes John. Jane likes John. There's the phrase. That is an English phrase right there.
That's a normal sentence.
That is a normal sentence. If the speaker wishes to convey that they know this information through, reports from others, some languages will have a little bit of grammar that you can tack onto the verb. The verb likes here to indicate that they've heard basically that Jane likes John. Like kind of in English, we go, I hear Jane likes John. I don't know this for a fact, but I hear from the gossip that this is a thing. That's reported evidentiality. You can do the same thing with visuals. You can have a little grammatical marker that implies that you know this information because you've seen this information. Like Jane, likes John, and the there means like I know this because I seen them hanging out together, etc. Then you can do this from basically all modes of gaining evidence from the word, like non-visual, markers, auditory markers. It's basically taking evidence from the world around you and encoding it on the verb to indicate basically how you know what you know is going on. Any feelings towards that at all?
It seems a bit much.
Thank Christ, Bill. Okay, good. Lovely. I was really worried that you were going to say yeah, but I'm more than happy to not deal with the evidentials. That's great. Okay, that draws at the end of it. So unless you are about to come out with some profound insight here, we're going to go with possibly a binary or tertiary tense system mixed in with a perfective or imperfective aspect system, and moods are kind of whatever. I'll make something happen. We'll see what comes out, and you're not afraid of the conditional.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Okay, cool. Anything else to add on that, or is that Abhéskii talk done? It might be,
I think it is. I have no further questions at this time.
Okay.
The defense rests.
Listeners, I need to issue a bit of an apology. I don't know if y'all can hear this. My beard is in like week 2 of growing after having trimmed it short. And Bill, I'm sure you're aware of, you go through that itchy patch after having a short beard. And I'm at that itchy patch, and it just occurred to me as we were wrapping up there that I've been like scratching my beard like crazy directly into the mic. So if there's a whole bunch of beard ASMR, folks, I'm really sorry about that. I'll try and remove it in post.
It wasn't noticeable for me, at least. So.
Well, that's good. That means the listeners have some hope, I would say. Okay. Abhéskii in all its forms done. Shall we jump into the green room?
Let's go to the green room.
Green room. All right. This is going to be the world's shortest green room, Bill. I'd like to quickly talk a little bit of politics and do a little bit of call to action. Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me.
Okay, sit back and relax, because politics talk, super relaxing. Folks, if people don't want to hear about politics, nothing more is going to be added to this show. You can just switch off now. I totally get it. You go for it. But just a real quick PSA. This is directed mainly at people living in Ireland. Our Taoiseach, our Prime Minister for non-Irish people, is due to visit the White House on, I think it's 12th of March, which is in about a week and a bit from the time of recording. The Taoiseach usually visits the White House around St. Patrick's Day for the annual bootlicking event that this is. The problem is this year, there's been a kind of like seismic shift in the sort of geopolitical landscape of the world. And in light of recent events, I feel a little bit uncomfortable at what is going to be a standard bootlicking occurring in this moment. And I would like to implore any Irish people or people living in Ireland who may also feel equally as uncomfortable and not at ease with this to email the Taoiseach and maybe vocalize this to them and be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't go over there and kiss a whole load of bums this year. The old backbone may be needed. So I've already sent off an email. Everyone in my family has sent off an email. If you are, ideologically aligned with myself, and by extension Bill here, I'm sure Bill doesn't agree with any of this. It take 5 minutes to fire off an email to the Taoiseach. It's not going to change anything, but listen, short of voting, this is the only way you can do civic engagement, by emailing your representatives. This is Ireland's representative going off to the White House. So that's all I wanted to say. There's an email in the show notes. Email the Taoiseach if you're in Ireland and you feel if you feel aligned with us on this. If you don't, that's entirely cool. No need to email the Taoiseach. That's it, Bill. That is no more politics. We're not talking politics. Bye-bye. See you next month.
Fair enough. That was the world's shortest green room.
It was. I mean, we've nothing else to talk about, and I don't want to go into a big long diatribe about world politics or whatever. I just want to just be like, civic engagement if you feel so if you desire that, and otherwise not. Do you have anything to add, or should I, until next time, this mofo?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Oh no, sorry, no, actually, let's not do that. I should say thanks to people. Edgar,
Yes.
how rude. Okay, folks.
Thanks to chat.
Thanks to listeners. Thanks to viewers. Thanks to patrons. Patrons? That's an interesting emphasis there.
Yeah, I stressed it wrong. I put the emphasis in the wrong place.
But thank you to everyone for listening to and supporting the show. Bill and I will see you all next month. So until next time, Edgar out.